All right. So, what's kind of interesting here, something I'd never thought about until I was preparing for this trip, is the names of these two mountains, Mallory and Irvine, and that they're aptly named. It's cool. Beyond all the obvious, mountains don't need names, it's all colonial, blah blah. I agree. But the point is, these are the names that these mountains were given in recent history, and there's kind of a neat significance behind it. And it involves Everest. Most people probably know this, but it's just something, these names that were familiar to me, but that I hadn't stopped and connected the dots. So I believe 1924, this isn't a history lesson, I'm not expert. I believe 1924, this expedition, this is when, the British were trying to assert themselves by being the first everywhere. Everyone was trying to get to the top of Everest. I think there had been, in 22, some attempts. And Mallory was there. Wasn't like the expedition leader, but he was there. And then in 24, they were back again for, could have been the third official attempt from, the British or something. Again, don't quote me. But he wasn't the expedition leader, but he was a senior climber. And I believe they were trying some of the routes that he had proposed. Regardless. So that's Mallory. And Irvine, Sandy Irvine, this is his nickname, was, it's beautiful. There's Lone Pine, there's the Alabama Hills, there's the Inyo Mountains. Oh, I love it here. So, yeah. Sandy Irvine, was brought onto the team in an effort to bring on some more younger people and get a spread and have, I've read, quote-unquote, youthful energy. So that was his story. He was brought on there. He wasn't particularly a senior climber, but he was there and competent, obviously, because he was there. There were multiple attempts made during that with different people, different sets of people during that expedition. And then there was one where it was Mallory and Irvine. And Mallory selected Irvine, or Irvine was selected, however it goes, particularly because he had been good with the equipment. He'd gotten good at managing the oxygen bottles and making them, function and work and maintaining and working with them. So that's, he was brought along mostly. That was a asset there. So they set out, and the story that's interesting is that unfortunately they passed away, and were at the time never heard from again, or never seen, never found. And so there's been speculation since as to whether they summited or not. If they did, it would have been a significant amount of time, decades, yes, before Sir Edmund Hillary. So that's why it's an interesting story between those two, because people have theorized and broken it down. One of their party saw them from a ridge lower down that day, and then there's discussion and debate of which step he saw them going up and how fast he saw them going, and then it was just a clearing in the weather that he saw them from very far away, and then they were never heard from again. And then relatively recent history, like I'm gonna say past decade, not even past decade and a half. Was it Irvine? Yeah, I believe Irvine was found. His body was found. So a relatively modern climbing expedition encountered him. Stories behind that. There's YouTube documentaries and stuff. And so he, so the body didn't really give any clues. It just made things more confusing, the location where he was, and it just opened up more doors to whether he had, they had summited and then somehow perished on the way back, or not made it up at all. This is a section that makes me nervous, and used to make me more nervous, because technically it's just sand here and really crap kitty litter on slab, and then it goes, and then it's cliffs. Like there's nothing. So, but there's really no worry. It's more of a psychological thing. There's literally no danger. So yeah, that's what led to the more speculation, because the location of Irvine's body didn't really clarify things. And then I believe it was Mallory. I hope I don't have them mixed up. I believe I'm correct here. Mallory was literally only found like very recently, like could be within the past year, and it wasn't the only remains. It was a boot with a sock and a foot. Again, there's YouTube documentaries and stuff like that, but this is kind of very recent history. And again, the location didn't really help clarify things and just, further raise more questions and debate. But there's a lot of people who believe that there's a good chance that they actually did summit. So it's pretty cool that they're here, and that's why they're here together. And there are a pair of peaks, and the parent peak is Mallory, and the sub peak is Irvine. So there's your senior and your junior climber, which is kind of cool, that representation. And then on top of that, there's their location. They're right here. They're right next to Mt Whitney, which is our highest peak. So it has relevance. They were Everest climbers as the highest peak. So anyway, I thought that was cool. It was a little piece of history and something that kind of ties things together with these mountains. And it's kind of neat that they're that pair here together next to Whitney, and that's how they're named. And I believe it was Norman Clyde who named them. All right, I'm gonna keep hiking.